Why, yes, I'm going to continue doing videos on this pasty space Jesus because it's fun! But if you want a more in-depth answer than that, be sure to check out the link in the description box below because that goes to my Facebook fan page where I'll have 2 videos up tonight explaining in detail why I continue to do a lot of videos on this pasty space Jesus lately. With that out of the way, let's get on with this shit, shall we? Because boy, what a shit show are we in for today.
To understand existence, you first have to understand the concept of non-existence.
No, you don't. You can just exist. It's not that hard. You're doing it right now. And so am I. Wrapping one's head around the concepts of what it's like to think, feel, and experience isn't something anybody needs to wrap their head around, because they're doing it all the time. At that point, they really needn't concern themselves what it's like to not exist, because all you know how to do is exist. Amazing, really.
But let's start with the universe and see if we can work our way backwards to non-existence.
Oh, let's start about a few billion years ago when the Big Bang happened and work our way up step by step to where human evolution started, and then work our way from there millions of years until now, because that won't take up anybody's time.
The universe, according to science,
You patronizing fuck. Science.
is a place of space, time, and matter. So what happens if we remove all of these, if we strip space, time, and matter from the universe?
I don't know, interest rates go up? Everything ceases to exist at that point. Everything becomes nothing. Anything becomes obsolescence. And it wouldn't even matter because you don't exist. Therefore, you can't even experience it. Taking away the title of the video here, these buttons over here, and the play bar down here, so it's just this blackness, that's all there would be. Void. Something abyssal. Absolutely nothing, and it wouldn't fucking matter anyway because you couldn't even experience it because you don't exist. So why pose the question?
Would that abolish existence and leave us with non-existence?
No, it would fill up all of the space the universe took up with rutabagas.
According to Abrahamism,
Kill me. Abrahamism? You mean religion? What is your hate boner for religion? I'm genuinely curious. I really am. I mean that. I want to know how somebody can be so butthurt because of their experiences early on in their life with religion that they go on to become this thing as an adult that creates a cult that on the surface level is about reason and logic and thinking for yourself and hoists up science and mathematics and philosophy and in certain regards even psychology, but really is just a vehicle to attack Christianity. 26 seconds into the video, 25 seconds into the video, you couldn't resist. You had to worm your way all the way back to religion. Completely making all of the shit you just said about existence and the universe and these big-ass questions that obviously an edgelord of your level could never answer in a million years, fucking worthless and meaningless and useless. Because really it's just about religion from now on, as happens in every fucking one of your videos. Who would have thunk that somebody pissed this guy off because of religion and he would have gone to this extent? Well, actually, really, who would have thunk? Because, I mean, there's tacky... I mean, like, Heaven's Gate had a tackiness to it. Jonestown had a tackiness to it. This shit? This is tackier than a knit sweater from like the 1970s. Oh, man.
if you took space, time, and matter away, you wouldn't be left with non-existence at all, but with the supposed creator of space, time, and matter,
What?
namely God.
Well, that goes to show how little you know about religion. What's inferred, and this takes a little bit of brain work here to kind of infer, but let's do it since you already shit the argument on the table. What's inferred in the Bible is that heaven and hell are two different planes of existence. So we can infer that there's trying to suggest that heaven and hell are two different universes of existence. Whereas heaven is just a country club you float around doing nothing but praying and taking a fucking harp lesson for eternity. And hell is, well, I guess, I don't know, any average day in Edmonton or traffic on the 405 or suffering and eternal torment every single fucking second of your existence from that point forward for eternity. So having flame wars, I guess, in the YouTube comment section and that being the sum of your life, I don't know. So if you took everything in this universe away, there'd be nothing. Still. You need to think about your argumentation before you spew it forth, or at least learn a thing or two about what these idiotic fucking fables from old suggested about where heaven and hell, or pleasure and pain, were in regards to one another. So you can then run that all back to it actually being just a giant allegory for life. Not so much what happens after existence here. Although people did try to inject that kind of shit into this bullshit to try to sound fancy. Kind of like what you do with this shit on YouTube.
According to Eastern religion, what would remain would be some sort of cosmic consciousness, a bare consciousness, some mental component, a unity, wholeness, and interconnectedness which generates the universe as Maya, illusion, a phenomenon produced by a noumenal mind that underlies everything.
You might think that sounds ridiculous, but think about this. Everything on the surface of this planet is alive to one extent or another, all the way down to viral, bacterial, microbial, and molecular life. Every single piece of plant life on this planet is alive and might not be alive to the extent we are with consciousness and self-reflective psychology, but they have nervous systems that react to different stimuli visited upon them, sound, touch, scent. You would think that something has to drive all that. Now, it might not be a Gaia or a planetary mind, but it's got to be something, maybe akin to a nervous system on a scale or at least a level we don't fully understand yet. It's almost like these Eastern philosophers and spiritualists were trying to explain something that they felt they noticed in the scheme of things on this planet that they didn't have a science to even explore at the time. But sure, disregard it and throw it to the wayside because it's religion. Because that's what it's like to live with your mind stuck in a box while telling the world you think outside of that box.
What does philosophy say?
I don't give a shit. Because science and philosophy are so vastly apart from one another, they don't need to be regarding one another.
The pre-Socratic philosopher Anaximander said that underneath everything was the apeiron, the infinite, the limitless, the beginning, the origin, the arche, the first principle. Pythagoras said that number was the root of everything. Anaxagoras said it was nous, cosmic mind. Plato said...
Oh my God, are you going to go through every single one of these people who ever lived? How much time did you have on your hands when you went to Google and decided to just quote mine every philosopher who ever said anything ever about the nature of existence? Buckle in, kids. We're going to be here for a few hundred years.
That it was a set of eternal, perfect, transcendent forms. Aristotle said it was God, which he defined as pure actuality, matterless form, pure thought, thinking about pure thought. Plotinus, the
Oh my God, I'm not going to fucking sit here and listen to all this shit, because if he's going to be here for like 15 fucking years extolling all this shit, I'm not going to waste your time and bore you to death with it.
It said it was monads. Kant said it was an unknowable noumenon.
No, Kant said, hey, I lead Hyperianism.
Hegel said it was the dialectical... Nietzsche said it was...
Holy fucking shit! And fuck Nietzsche. Oh my God, how many edgelords just fucking follow Nietzsche, just hook, line, and sinker? The poor motherfucker was talking about guys like this fucking thing here, okay, more than anyone else. He must be spinning in his grave so hard that he's turned into a drill bit that's tunneling for the center of the earth at this point. I feel so bad for Nietzsche and how bad his ideas and philosophies have been abused by assholes like this and totally misunderstood, misrepresented, and taken out of context. It's fucking sad.
The will to power. Stephen Hawking said, the origin of the universe can be explained by the laws of physics.
And that's true, and you do not get to shit on anything Stephen Hawking said, because unlike yourself, faggot, Stephen Hawking was a brilliant man. And he did all of his accomplishments while pretty much dying his whole life from ALS. It's one of the reasons why he was all crippled and withered in a wheelchair. He didn't always used to be that way. And I would love to see you get something like that, so I can understand just how much whining and complaining your pussy ass would do, faced with a real debility, and how well you'd stick by your fucking principles, and totally not hand out your tin can on the internet and beg for some shekels every now and then, more so than you do now for Patreon donations, you lazy sack of shit. Stephen Hawking understood more about physics, science, and mathematics than you ever will, and actually had the formulas and the mathematics to back up what he was saying. You've got fucking nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. So fuck off. Leave him out of this.
These laws predict that the universe was spontaneously created out of nothing in a rapidly expanding state. This is called inflation.
So it's what your ego does every time you hit record on your camera. You got an answer as to what came before there was this universe? You got an answer as to what caused the Big Bang? You got an answer as to what form of existence was before there was this? No. And you never will. Because no one will, more than likely, unless we finally figure out how to crack that question at some point in our species' history. Certainly it will not be done by you. And it's really sad that people out there actually believe that it ever could. What is your background? Really, what is it? Well, what do you have a degree in besides being an entertainer or some kind of marketing degree, I'm sure? Like, because obviously you don't understand anything about science or mathematics in any real functional regard. You just crib shit you find on Google. It's obvious.
So, according to Hawking and the worshippers of the cult of scientism,
it's better than worshipping the cult of pay this guy's bills because you think you understand what he's really saying.
What exists before space, time, and matter is not non-existence per se, but the laws of physics. So where are these laws? What's their location? What do they exist in? What conveys them if there is no space, time, or matter? Well, they must be immaterial, since they're not material.
Have you ever heard something so fucking stupid that you actually felt a piece of your soul physically die? Because that's just what happened right now.
But don't scientists say that nothing immaterial exists?
Gravity. What fuckhead scientists have you been reading from?
What a joke. They're refuted.
Yeah, what a joke that this guy could ever take a look in the mirror without his knowledge of fucking superior intellect on science and math. Get the fuck out of here. There are plenty of immaterial forces all over this universe that have an affectation on every single fucking thing in this universe, in one form or another, the biggest of which being gravity. Now, it may not exist in a form that's physical or tangible or material, such as this pen. It's physical, it's material, it's tangible. It exists, I can see it, and I can touch it. I drop it, it's affected by gravity, something I can't really see or touch, but affects everything, everywhere, all the time, always. Where the fuck did you manage to get this idea that scientists would actually be so preposterously absurd as to suggest immaterial forces don't exist in this universe? Of course they do, and they discover more and more of them all the time. It's why we built the Hadron Collider, to explore these forces, because it's a machine that allows us to do so in a way that gets around having to explore them in a way that depends upon something being material and physical. You fucking idiot!
by their own laws, which are immaterial, outside space and time, not subject to entropy, and exist at a temperature of absolute zero. And
you know, you're really fucking up when you get to the point where I want to put you in a debate with somebody like Venom Fang X.
Are eternal, all totally incompatible with the claims of scientism.
Yeah, you'd think that without having an actual understanding of science or physics or any sort of astronomical physics or astronomical sciences. Idiot. You know, the more I look at it, that is just cheap.
Ludicrously, materialist scientists say that nothing non-material can exist. Really? What about the laws of physics? When are they going to suddenly blink out of existence? When did they suddenly blink into existence out of non-existence? By what miracle?
You know, you can't make an argument valid if you're inventing the argument you're arguing against. That's a level of straw manning that's almost radioactive. Where the fuck are there scientists that are saying this? There aren't any. Unless they're fucking morons like you that have no idea what they're talking about. As I just said, they have been exploring immaterial sciences for actually almost a few decades now, really. It's not anyone else's fault but your own that you're so fucking ignorant and stupid you don't look up this kind of shit. Therefore, you make an internet fucking diatribe like this, sounding and looking like an idiot because you didn't know about that.
Laws of physics aren't made out of anything physical. Hence, they are immaterial. Stephen Hawking wrote, one of the basic rules of the universe is that nothing is perfect. Perfection simply doesn't exist. Without imperfection, neither you nor I would exist.
I don't believe for a second that you personally don't think you're perfect. I think that you're so full of yourself and high of the smell of your own farts that you view yourself as the epitome of perfection. And this is evidenced by the fact you're willing to put yourself above the whole of humanity. Damn, narcissistic much? You say that all the time in your own videos, that you've transcended humanity. I wish I could be that in love with myself. But I can't. Because depression.
Again, really? Aren't the laws of physics perfect, Stephen? If they weren't perfect,
now I feel personally attacked.
They would be totally unreliable and totally unstable, and they would produce a totally unreliable and unstable universe.
Just like this video is producing a totally unreliable and unstable argument. That's not what he's getting at. The laws of physics are constants, but it doesn't mean that they produce perfect results. Now, I can't believe I have to dumb things down to this level, but here. Take a video game, for example. A video game, yes, it's a digital virtual simulation of, like, anything. Let's take Grand Theft Auto. Why? Well, because it's a big digital simulation of, the real world, to an extent. Okay? There are glitches and bugs and all kinds of physics bugs in that game all over the place. Just like this fly flying in front of my face, for example. No, I'm just kidding. And yet, the code of the game is doing exactly what it's intended to. In a sense, it's perfect. And it causes flaws because it's doing exactly as it's intended. Well, in your videos, you suggest that there's a code to this universe through mathematics, through physics on the quantum level, and yet you're saying that the suggestion that something such as physics, the way Hawking describes them, makes no sense because imperfections could happen. Well, the laws are supposed to be perfect. Well, isn't your math supposed to be perfect? Isn't your quantum physics supposed to be perfect? Isn't that supposed to be the code that runs the simulation of life we're experiencing right now? Isn't that supposed to be perfect? Well, explain to us then why the fuck a random black hole appears at the center of our universe, so far as we have observed it, so fucking big that it apparently is actually slowly pulling in everything in this universe. That's something I didn't know about until recently. That seems like a pretty big goddamn flaw. A flaw put together by the laws of physics on both the mechanical physics and quantum physics level. So, what say you? Just because the rules function exactly as they're intended to doesn't mean they have to have perfect results. And that's what he's fucking saying. Doesn't mean that the rules are imperfect. I guess you're one of these people that have extreme trouble understanding the concept of life isn't fair, and things don't always go as you plan, and not everything can be easily understood. You need to pull your head out of that messianic ass of yours and accept the fact that you really don't know everything.
And it would self-destruct instantly. Imagine imperfect laws. How would you be able to work out what they were, given that their imperfections would keep generating bizarre, unpredictable, irrational, and illogical results?
Well, that happens in our universe all the time, and we discover that happening all the time. So far as we understand them right now. They might seem illogical on paper, currently. Years down the line, we might learn more about how these varying phenomena function, and then they seem less illogical and less random. You're summing up the whole of human knowledge to be, well, you assumed you knew everything, and now you're finding out that you don't. No, we assumed that we knew nothing, and we're finding out more as we go.
You couldn't have a universe at all without perfect laws, and the only perfect eternal laws are those of mathematics.
How perfect was the universe post-Big Bang? Not at all! For billions of years, it was just a big bolus of fucking chaos. Just a big churning, like, abyss of fucking insanity on all levels, until things started to finally form together and coalesce over billions of more years. I mean, for fuck's sake, dude, how can you not understand that? You just think that this was in its current form out of nowhere? That's more preposterous than what you're suggesting. I mean, that's more preposterous than you saying that what people are suggesting actually happened is ridiculous. I mean, oh, that was the universe one day. It's just perfect. It's infinite light years across, and there's no imperfections in it at all. Except for the, like, near infinite number of imperfections that are all over the damn place. So it's more ridiculous than a fucking video game example I used, and I still have to break things down to that level. I mean, God.
Not science. Stephen Hawking was a shockingly inept philosopher, and exactly because of that...
And who gives a shit if he was a shockingly inept philosopher? That wasn't his main fucking call. His main call was a fucking scientist, a mathematician, a physicist. You're the asshole on the internet suggesting that you should be taken seriously as all that when you're nothing more than a hack philosopher. You're such a hack philosopher that you can't even come up with any of your own philosophy. You have to crib all your quotes on philosophy from other people. And I think it's unreal that you have to take advantage, too, of the fact that they're all dead. Because if they were alive, they wouldn't want to be associated with your gaunt ass.
All of his scientific speculations were totally incoherent and basically absurd. If you can't explain, understand, and define the laws of physics, how on earth can you expect to explain and understand the universe?
According to whom? According to whom? How many people ended up pushing themselves so hard as to get into MIT because they were inspired by his formulas, you stupid fuck? Jesus Christ, there's scientists all over the place and physicists and mathematicians all over the place that became what they are now because they were inspired by where he was going. You fucking idiot. Why don't you prove these to be incoherent? Why don't you prove them to be inconsistent? Oh, wait, that's right. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, therefore you goddamn can't. This guy's a shining example of what you can do with being able to sound like you're smart and not actually be.
That they create. The two are absolutely connected. If you can't explain why and how the laws exist, and in what they exist, and in what way they exist, then how can you explain the universe to which they give rise?
The problem is, he actually did. It's not anyone's fault but your own. You didn't bother to look into that. As I said before, you seem like the edgy kind of contrarian that wanted to skip out of class to be the cool edgelord, and all you did was fuck yourself over as a result because you have no goddamn clue what the fuck you're talking about. You want people to be convinced that you do, and in that attempt, you just sound like an idiot.
You're putting the cart before the horse. Scientists are clueless speculators. Richard Feynman said,
"How are they clueless speculators? They're the ones doing all the work, dipshit. What are you doing besides calling them a fucking pack of jackasses who don't know what they're talking about? Where's your Large Hadron Collider? Where's your laboratory? Where are your longitudinal experiments that last over the span of decades to take and document different extant phenomena in our universe and compare and contrast on how that affects us all the way down here on our little blue planet every single fucking day? Where is any of this shit? Oh, I wrote a book on the internet, and I sell it once a month, and I make money, and I'm a philosopher. No, you're a fucking joke. And it just blows my mind that so many fucking people get convinced into this shit more and more every day, because you're able to, through your wordplay and your word salad that means nothing, convince them that you actually have the right idea. That you're the one that needs to be listened to, not the person doing all the work. God, you are a fucking idiot. Beyond belief, you are a fucking idiot.
in general, we look for a new law by the following. First, we guess it. No, don't laugh. That's really true. There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. The main...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was looking at a dead horse right here. Instead, they just fucking propped up the corpse of somebody's grandmother with an elaborate set of trusses, tied a rope around its mouth and made it jabber a whole bunch of nonsensical fucking word salad for fucking 12 minutes.
tool of science is not working out things rationally, but guessing.
How is the scientific method not rational? Explain me that. Without your deduction and induction horse shit that utilize the principles of deduction and induction to explain themselves, show me how the scientific method is irrational.
Just making random stabs in the dark. The laws of physics...
Well, a lot of goddamn luck we've had with random stabs in the dark because it's given us the entire world of biomedical science, electrical engineering, physics engineering, quantum theory, string theory. Jesus Christ, we made so many strides with these random stabs in the dark. It's almost like they had a good idea of what the fuck they were doing. Better than somebody who had fucking blondie vampire here. Jeez.
Are actually entirely consistent with Platonic forms. Yet science despises Plato and his perfect, eternal, immutable, transcendent forms outside space and time.
Yeah, because why the fuck do we need to give a shit about what Plato said? Plato wasn't a scientist more than he was a fucking philosopher. Scientists are actually doing hard work every single day, physical hard work to understand this. You know what Plato's doing? Rotting in the ground because he's been dead for millennia.
Which give rise to space, time, and matter. Look at the following comparison. Plato's laws are eternal, perfect, immutable, outside space and time, immaterial, transcendent, with zero entropy.
And why don't you fucking show us how that is? Do the work. They're just perfect because I said they are. I said they're perfect, okay? Doesn't that make them perfect? Oh, I hope I didn't blow that pen up all over. Okay. That would have made this video take a drastic turn, and I would have needed to clean my desk up of ink. I said they were perfect, therefore they are. You know, God damn, this is my head hurts.
Science's laws are eternal, perfect, immutable, outside space and time, immaterial, transcendent, with zero entropy. So shouldn't...
My brain is going to go into entropy. My brain is going to go into atrophy in a few minutes here. Fuck, there's 6 more minutes of this.
every scientist be studying Plato? Yet none do. The first thing science has to do is explain its own laws. If it can't explain them, it can't explain anything else.
It's not science's fault that you don't want to understand how science functions.
You can't use scientific experiments to explain the laws of science.
Yes, you can, you fucking idiot.
Only to observe their effects. Scientists...
What the fuck other use do they have, you stupid fucking goddamn jabbering dipshit? Oh my fucking god. What the fuck other purpose does science serve then? What do you fucking want it to do? Answer, why are we here? Why are we here? I want to know, because then I get to know why somebody put me in a religious commune and Daddy yelled at me about Jesus. Why did you do that, Daddy? Why?
have never grasped that simple fact. That's because they're empiricists, not rationalists.
Well, I'd rather take empirical evidence any day over fucking fuddy-duddy philosophical bullshit that doesn't even take the time to explain itself or prove its own existence.
Only reason and logic can explain the laws of physics, and that means that reason and logic can also explain everything produced by those laws.
Kill yourself, and then come back, and then explain to us the nature of the universe, because then you'll finally have existed outside of it. Stupid, isn't it? Yeah, it's like everything else you've said so far.
And that means that everything is in fact mathematical, not scientific. Here's a simple question for all scientists. If you removed mathematics from science, what would be left of science?
You are a fucking idiot. That's what would be left.
Nothing at all. At least nothing of any rational worth. Mathematics, however...
So, what do you believe, then? Human beings invented mathematics? No, obviously the numbers had already been there. Human beings had to figure out a way to translate the numbers and actually make them useful to us as a tool. And therefore, science was birthed through that. Fuck. Oh, my God.
However, doesn't need science. So who needs empirical science? When it comes...
Yeah, who needs vaccines? We're all fine without them. Oh, man, look at everybody dying of the plague. But since I'm a Hyperion, I'm immune to disease. Because who needs those pesky viruses? We don't need science. We can just claim science is guessing it's right. While guessing we're right. Even though that's not what science is doing at all.
Comes to answering the ultimate foundational questions of existence, the answer is...
Science doesn't fucking care.
No one needs it. Everything that science does...
No, nobody does. I don't really give a shit why we're here. Some people do. I mean, to be frank, it'd be a nice question to know the answer to. But at that point, too, if we're going to get all fucking philosophical here, wouldn't that destroy your purview of life? Especially if it was something mundane? To know that we were just here to serve some stupid, mundane, intrinsic function that doesn't even benefit us as creatures, as extant things. It's one of the reasons I don't even concern myself as to why we're here. Because there are so many other things important. Like, how the fuck am I going to be able to pay my bills at the end of the month? How the fuck am I going to be able to take care of myself at the end of the month? You know, actually having a life that's existing outside of the realm of sitting on my lazy dead ass in a dark apartment lit by candles and figuring out how I'm going to rip teenagers off of their money every fucking month. Nobody actually gives a flying fuck as much as you'd like to think they do about why we're here. It would be a nice question to know the answer to, and it is a big question we, as a species of intellectual and intelligent creatures, pose. But it's also a highly irrelevant question, because it really doesn't matter. So who gives a shit? Science doesn't concern itself with that. It doesn't concern itself with people's purpose or why they're here. You really have an inability to separate science and philosophy. You're such an idiot. You actually think they're tied together. No, they're not. They're really not.
Can be done much more rationally and logically by ontological mathematics. The mathematics
which they use all the time
of Hyperianism.
No, the mathematics of people that came up with it before you fucking decided to steal their achievements and claim them as your own, you fucking con artist. These kind of mathematics were used long before any of this shit. Long before.
Scientists aren't good at using reason and logic, and that's because they're sensing types, not thinking types.
Oh, yeah, because there's no thinking involved in scientific research to any degree. No.
They believe that we live in a sensory empirical world. We don't.
I'm going to see if I can't sense this. Because if we don't live in a sensory empirical world, nothing will happen. Ow! That felt pretty sensory. Let me try it again. We live in a sensory world. Ow. Okay, I was making sure I didn't break anything. Or cheap gag.
We live in a rational world.
Obviously not, because people like you exist in it.
Which has a sensory empirical aspect. You can't understand.
So you don't live in a sensory world, but it has an aspect of it that's sensory. Make up your fucking mind. Good God, you are really the biggest slip and slide I've ever seen in my life, man. Holy fuck. You can't have both. You have to have one or the other. Your principles just flip-flop. And that's probably one of the reasons why this philosophy has no fucking weight to it, too.
Understand the latter without understanding the former. Science has never grasped this basic fact, nor could it ever, because it rejects reason and logic and relies on the senses.
Okay.
The senses are shallow. They show you surfaces and appearances. They only show you the holos. They can never get you to the source.
Even though we've learned so much about quantum theory, it's unfucking real. Things that we can't even distinguish with our normal senses. Okay.
They never show you what things are in themselves. Noumena. Only reason and logic can tell you what things
hey.
actually are in themselves. Only reason and logic can lead you to the source. Scientists have failed to comprehend this. The only part of science that works is the mathematical part. All the rest is nonsense, an absurd product of the absurd philosophy of empiricism and materialism.
Let's see you get a man on the moon.
Which, as anyone who has studied David Hume knows, leads to total skepticism and the total annihilation of substantive knowledge.
I don't give a flying fucking shit about what that ass fuck David Hume has to say, and the fact that you're going to weigh up his philosophy as an argumentation against the whole of science as a hard intrinsic ability for human beings to actually explain a lot of the material phenomena of our universe goes to show me what a fucking numbskull you are. Oh my God. If you ever attended college, I feel bad for anybody that had to be in a class with your fucking stupid Philistine ass. Oh, Jesus Christ. You're like a first-year fucking philosophical science student that just decided to take everything at face value and felt like he was a fucking know-it-all after he's done. You fucking pretentious goddamn snob. Fuck you.
Scientists don't know that because scientists don't know anything about philosophy.
Scientists don't give a shit about philosophy because they don't concern themselves with philosophy. They deal in fact, not fucking what could be. You know, let's bring this back right to religion. Sorry, I got an itch in my nose. Ugh. Make me want to just pick my fucking nose on camera because that would be a much better activity than having to sit there and fucking expose my mind to this nonsense. Science doesn't give a shit about philosophy. It doesn't have a reason to. It deals with hard facts, not fucking what could be. You're making me repeat myself. You're driving me crazy, Smalls.
Scientists believe that that's a strength. In fact, it's an intellectual catastrophe.
No, an intellectual catastrophe is what'll happen to you if you sit there and watch this guy's videos and take everything he has to say seriously. You'll actually start to see the world through his point of view, and that'll be such a delusional mindset to live through. You might as well go back to being, as he says, a mainstream religious person, because you're letting some fucking edgelord dogmatize your worldview. A worldview they can't even prove is accurate.
Scientists are not intellectuals. They are glorified technicians, calculators. Kurt Gödel said, "I don't believe in empirical science. I only believe in a priori truth."
Well, great. That goes to show me that I'm not going to use him in my lab because I want somebody that believes there is a sense of empiricism to things that we can see, observe, and experiment with. Things we can experience.
It's time the world got on board with that agenda.
Well, it's not going to get on board with your agenda because the rest of the world is busy functioning, not sitting around trying to scam people out of their money.
But
well, I mean, at certain regards. Many of the business world members actually like doing that. But they were a little more classy about it, I guess, than being the tacky contrarian of the internet that wants to sit there and say science is bullshit while utilizing a platform to say this that couldn't possibly have existed without science. I mean, doesn't anybody see the irony in that? This guy is saying this through the internet. An extant thing that could not exist without science to have helped create it. Jesus Christ. Alan Turing did not fucking goddamn invent computative computers, calculating fucking computers, just so they could be turned into a device to use for the purposes of somebody sharing the idea that science is bullshit. A scientist didn't utilize science to create the device you're fucking using now in its current form to say that the science that was utilized to create this shit is bullshit. Oh my God in heaven.
The smartest people in the world are capable of it. Scientists aren't intellectually up to it. They still believe in empiricism. They still believe the naive superstition that the senses show us reality.
And you still believe in the naive superstition that you are a space messiah that somehow knows all the answers, but you gotta pay him a little greenback in order to find them out.
The senses will only ever reveal the holos. It can never get to the immaterial source. So, how can we understand non-existence?
I don't know. You've wasted all your fucking time not explaining any of it, which is what you always do because you don't have any answers.
What is it? What is the simplest possible conceptual item? It's the static mathematical point. The static mathematical point has no dimensions, no extension, no mass, no energy.
So nothing exists.
No location, no qualities, no characteristics. The static mathematical point has no properties at all. It's therefore non-existence. But what's true of one point is true of infinite points. So there you have it. Non-existence can be defined exactly. It's infinite static mathematical points.
No fucking shit. So then what defines existence? By your metrics, if that's all there is, then nothing actually exists. How fucking stupid is that?
It's nothing, does nothing, and has no properties. It has
kind of like the point of this video.
No effects, no consequences, and causes nothing. Having understood how to define non-existence, it then becomes simplicity itself to explain existence. Existence is what you get when you take static mathematical points and do just one thing to them. Make them move. And what makes them move is the principle of sufficient reason, which asserts that every rational...
The principle of sufficient reason isn't yours to abuse and take out of context. The principle of sufficient reason isn't a scientific principle, it's a philosophic principle. And through the advent of our investigation in quantum theory, we've understood that things can happen without any certainly explainable reason, at least as we understand it right now. There are many things in this universe that just happen and we don't know why. But throw that by the wayside and completely dis-fucking-regard it because it doesn't suit your agenda or your narrative.
Functionally equivalent state must be treated with exact parity of treatment, and motion is required to take all equivalent states into equal consideration. When you make points move, you get nothing other than ontological mathematics, the true science of existence.
Oh, so they're the true numbers. The other numbers that are exactly the same as your bullshit ontological numbers were always wrong, but your ontological numbers are right.
Points, and only points, are consistent with Occam's razor, the law of simplicity and economy.
Who is sucking this guy's ego's dick to get him to the point where he thinks that makes sense?
Any theory of existence that doesn't start with points is more complex than it needs to be, and nature never does anything complex when it can do something simple instead.
Bull fucking shit. Did my ears deceive me? Nature doesn't do anything complex. Quasars, pulsars, how black holes are formed. The nature of meteorological science on this planet is fucking complex. I mean, you're not such a fucking simpering retard that you actually think, oh, just water falls from the sky. The sky, and it get wet. It's simple. Nature doesn't do anything complex, like function on this big-ass stream of high-pressure and low-pressure systems and precipitations, water that is condensed from evaporation off our oceans to cause all of our clouds. I mean, like, God. Nature does so many things that are complex and difficult for human beings to understand. It's unreal. I mean, for God's sake, we still don't even understand really, like, so many. We understand more about what goes on outside of our planet in space than we have an idea of what goes on in our own oceans. Nature doesn't do anything complex. It's all simple. It's Occam's razor. It's fucking razor. It's Occam's Bic lighter. It's so simple. That's why we discover so many new things about our own planet every fucking day. God, you know, I swear to God, send one of these videos to Gary and Mendham, because I just want to see his head explode watching one of these.
If nature can be constructed from mathematical points, it must be. It can, and it is.
Okay, so raindrops are ones and zeros. Got it.
And that means that it's strictly mathematical. But you need to be among the smartest people on Earth to get this.
Not really. I'm actually kind of a fucking moron, and I understand more about science than you ever will.
Well, do you get it?
Yeah, you want money, and you dress up all this faggotry with word salad to give people who are kind of impressionable and also fit within the subculture that you're pandering to think you know everything that you're talking about, even though you won't even go into what kind of a background you obtained all this knowledge through. Google University, I'm sure. And it's just a big-ass scam. That's all this shit is. It's a scam to get money out of people, because you want them to think you're all knowledgeable about this shit, so you can be the contrarian you've always wanted to be, to get back at all those people who put your lack of any fundamental knowledge on anything you're talking about down, as they should. I don't give a flying fuck much about bullying anymore if it's regarding people like this. People like this guy, and I don't mean goths, but I mean people like this fucking dude need to be bullied to hell and back. Because it's the only goddamn thing that'll put their ego in check and keep that shit at bay. when they're pandered to, coddled, nursed into this idea that they really are the know-it-all they think of themselves as, that narcissism builds up and it inflates to dangerous levels. Then you got assholes like this floating around all over the place, knowing all the too well how to take advantage of people that shouldn't be taken advantage of, just so they can get off on taking advantage of. And so they can make a couple of bucks at the end of the day. What a fucking idiot.
Hyperion mathematics, ontological mathematics, isn't for all, and nor is the truth.
It's not for anybody, because it's all bullshit, because it's not a system of mathematics that actually tries to explain itself. Show your work, fuckface. Show me the math. Show me the numbers. And no, I'm not paying you to see it, because you don't deserve my money. You don't deserve anyone's. Actually do a video where instead of rambling for 12 minutes... like a ludicrous fuckhead with no knowledge of mathematics, science, or physics, show your fucking work. Explain this shit in actual detail the way a mathematician would. You're better than scientists. Well, guess what? There's a reason the scientific method exists, because it's a rational way of trying to explain your principles. So fucking do it, dipshit. Oh, that's right, you won't. Because you're just full of shit.
Hyperionism wants only the finest, most open minds in the world.
No, you just want more and more dupes to keep paying your bills. I honestly almost am ready to start considering to report this guy to Patreon for abusing the platform, because doing this shit, using it for that, is definitely got to be an abuse of their TOS somehow.
The world is full of small minds, closed minds, weak minds, narrow minds.
You mean the kind of minds that get spanked too many times behind a fucking church in a fucking podunk Montana town that they turn into some idiotic edgelord in fucking rouge and mascara with bleached hair on the internet? Yeah, you're a strong mind. You let the dumbest kinds of people in the entire world ruin you as a human being all the way to your core. That's a strong-willed person. No, that's a fucking simpering pussy that let people fuck him up into whatever the fuck he is now. You fucking weakling. How dare you call anybody else a weak mind? You needed to continue to attack the things in life that hurt you when you were young, that don't fucking matter anymore, for no other reason than to goddamn do it. What a fucking idiot. I don't know why anybody takes this piece of shit seriously.
And simple minds. If you're sick of the world ruled by people like that, join us.
Well, it's not going to be ruled by people like you. And I'm getting more and more worried that you are going to start your own Jonestown-like thing one day, and a lot of people who had a lot of promise in life are going to end up drinking some bleach-tinted Kool-Aid because you refuse to accept the fact that your worldview is bullshit, and you want them all to accept your worldview whole cloth, regardless of how unsensical, unfounded, and unprovable it is. And if they don't, well, they're just going to go down with the ship anyway. People like you terrify me in your ability to hurt good people and not give a fuck about doing that. And you can't say I take his words out of context. I've watched these videos all the way to the end. A form of hellish torture in and of itself.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's only for those that can't endure not having the complete answer to existence.
There is no such thing as the complete answer to existence. And anybody that tells you they have it, you need to stay the fuck away from. Because they know they don't have it. They just want to fuck with you. Spooky Goblin Man wants you to think he has all the answers. And that's why you keep donating more money to him. Sending him more and more of either your parents' disposable income or your own hard-earned income. Because he keeps giving you the impression that at the end of that endless bullshit rope, the real answers are going to lie. Because they just don't exist. And they certainly wouldn't exist if they do, in the form of this splotchy fucking freak.
Open your mind. Expand your mind.
Oh, my mind is as open and as expanded as your prolapsed asshole. That's an image I didn't want. That's why I can see what you're really trying to accomplish with Hyperionism. If my mind were closed and my perceptions weakened and my viewpoints on things diminished to nothing but tunnel vision, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd fall for this shit. I know that I totally would have fallen for this shit when I was young, edgy, well, more so than I am now at least, and naive as fuck. The kind of people this shit panders directly to, insidiously.
Explore the source code. Enter the Hyperion world.
I do explore the source code every day. It's kind of my job.
Mind at large.
Oh.
My name is Morg, and we are the cult of reason.
Finally found yourself a tagline, at least.
Ad Astra, to the stars. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and check out my Patreon for hidden videos.
Can somebody please start taking his hidden videos and putting them up on YouTube? If you think this shit is a joke, you should see that shit. Like I've mentioned him before. It's hilarious. They're just nothing but him standing with his phone, just vertical like this, you know. And he's like got a camera angle that's just his gaunt, ugly ass visage lit from underneath with a candle. It's fucking unreal. It's fucking unreal. It's just like the tone deafness is unbelievable. The inability to have any self-awareness well, I don't even know if it's like that, because it's like, yeah, you're aware that people out there, we get it. We get it. We get what you're really doing. But it's just, it's completely disregarded. Sad. Some of these people, they're really intelligent people as individuals. They're just being manipulated by a fucking asshole who needs somebody to fucking stuff a baseball bat up his ass. Anyway, until next time, take it easy.